Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Boy, do we got a show for you today. It is the off season. Your boy, Captain Boring, he's here. He's the only one that really cares to show up week after week for you people. I'm alongside my co-host, NotCFBIII, Mr. Can't Climb Stairs. He is back and better than ever after a long while off, because last week I did it with AKA, now AKA is out. It's good to see you again, bud. How you doing?
Hey, we're hanging in there.
We are well within to the off season now. Some spring games have been played, including Michigan. They aren't releasing their tape until this coming weekend, so I'm going to wait to comment on that until I watch the full spring game. Robert has his sources and has watched it, but I'm going to hold off because I would like to watch it before I comment on it. However, let's start in Knoxville, because when we last came on, we were talking house settlement and we were talking NIL. Me and AKA really kind of just beat that to a dead horse. However, I do have an update on that I will go into in just a minute. But let's start in Knoxville. Nico is done with Tennessee, or as it were, Tennessee's actually done with Nico. Nico overplayed his hand, got some bad advice, as it were, more than likely, and he is going to go to UCLA for a fraction of what he was making, mostly because Tennessee has no state tax, income tax, and California has like 52 to 54%. Don't quote me on that, but it's somewhere around 50%. So he is making far less. Robert, I had to laugh. Nico's camp came out and was like, yeah, it's scheme fit. The offense wasn't wide open enough. It was too slow. Receivers weren't catching balls. And the reaction on the internet is, yeah, bud, you were the reason for that sort of deal. Well, your quarterback was the reason for that. I should say that Nico has not come out and made an official statement. It has been all Nico's camp. Robert, I had to laugh because I was listening to the College Game Day podcast, and Reese Davis kind of took the stance you said. Okay, yeah, he may have gotten some bad advice, but he's an adult. He's 18. Well, he's 20, a little older than that now. He's an adult. He's making money. He's a grown-up. He can make his own decisions.
Yeah, I guess this is kind of like, here's your introduction to the real world. You kind of reap what you sow. You thought you were worth more than what you really are. I don't want to really get into the argument that I don't think the players are worth what they are anyways. But yeah, he just he fumbled the bag. You're going from playing in the SEC, which they still consider the premier conference, and playing at Tennessee, compared to now you're playing at UCLA, making about $1.5 million less to play in Central Los Angeles.
I think it's more than that, isn't it, at this point in time?
Well, I know he's getting $900,000 after taxes,
right?
But
so they're taking $800,000, so I'm guessing he's getting like 1.7 million. Wasn't he making like 2.2? So even his baseline, even his baseline's less than that.
Yeah, whoever his camp is, he better hope that they're not there when it comes time for him to go to the draft, because that's going to be a nightmare when it comes time to his first contract.
I'm trying to find, because I do want to... Make academic great again. Did he delete that comment? I hope not. Because we had a great follow-up on my uncle, who's a professor at the University of Akron. Rob, if you don't know that, the Fighting Kevin Kearns, that's why we call them the Fighting Kevin Kearns. He left a great comment on our video, on our college from last week, and I don't know where it went. It was very detailed. It went in, it corrected us some things that we said wrong, and I don't know where it is. I cannot find it, and so I do.
We're not wrong.
We're not wrong, but he did make
No,
some
I
things.
know.
He did make
Yeah.
some things light, because he did go to say, because we said all of these football programs are so profitable, and he said most, unless if you're like top tier, right, FBS
Yeah.
program, most football programs are running at a deficit just because it costs so much.
Right.
And I did kind of want to get into that, but I still think the argument can be made, spinning this kind of forward and wrapping in Nico, is that, like, there is plenty enough money to go around. I just think we have to be smarter with how we're going to use it.
Well, and I think that's where, I don't think there's any player in a collegiate level that should be getting millions of dollars. Like, they're not. We're giving these kids too much credit for what they're actually doing, in my opinion. Like, they're not in the NFL. The NFL is obviously the end goal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
But
know
like,
what you're saying.
okay, you're going to play at Tennessee, but in reality, you were the 400th quarterback that Tennessee has talked to in the past 2 years. So any of them could have been in your position. So to say that they deserve 2 million, 1 million is kind of like absurd.
It's all based on potential, right? I mean, that's what the NFL is, but this is just potential out of control. Like the fact that Bryce Underwood got whatever it was, $3 million a year, $12 million, whatever the report is, right? That's asinine. He hasn't even taken a college snap.
That's the thing.
Yeah, this is all potential based on what he did in high school. Great in high school, but it's a different sort of level when you step up to college, and then even the pros. But the pros is you draft and then you sign a contract. Do you think that, obviously we're going to get to some sort of like contract and things, and his brother Madden went from Arkansas to UCLA and followed him. Again, I saw something on Facebook that Arkansas, technically, he didn't fulfill any of his contract stipulations, so Arkansas technically could sue Madden.
Yeah, they're trying to get the NIL money back,
which I think is like,
it's fair.
It's fair, and you got to sign these people to contracts, and then you got to hold them to contracts, because you are in the real world. Uncle, if you are listening to this, I can't find your comment. I don't know if YouTube deleted it. I don't know if you took it down. There was nothing bad about your comment. I didn't like it or anything, because I was trying to save it at the top. Once you like it in YouTube, then it goes away, and then you got to dig and dig and dig for it. And I can't find it. If you would be willing to post that again, not really sure what happened with that, I would love to read your response live on the podcast. So we'll just kind of move on and go from there with that. Robert, we also talked about Lee Corso retiring. College game day. Again, it started as you were saying, it started as a religious experience for you, and then it's kind of you just want the football game, and I totally get that, and I totally respect that, because pregame shows have become, it's actually one of my biggest pet peeves in sports. Like, I don't need all the pregame shows, I don't need the hour-long pregame shows, but I did appreciate college game day, because college game day is about the fan experience, or at least used to be, right? It was about celebrating the tradition. Whether or not it's getting away from that, we can debate at another time. Like, do you have any memorable Corso moments that kind of just that drew you into college football, or that I don't know, that you remember fondly?
Well, that's kind of the thing is, for me, it wasn't about Corso though. Like, yeah, I like to see him choose, but I liked watching kind of them all choose, and it's like, oh, what hat, helmet, whatever is he going to put on. But like, a lot of times it was just, I would wait until they'd call the Michigan game up. They think this team's either Michigan or team's going to be like, okay. Then I was switching over to be like, okay, now what channel is, because obviously this was before YouTube TV, where we didn't have 4 separate channels to look at. It was, okay, Michigan's going to be on ABC. Okay, now let me get over to ABC because they were already talking about them on ABC. So, I mean, I don't know, his games for Texas and Oklahoma were always good because he always had a gun and he'd always shoot the Oklahoma gun.
I Chris Reese Davis said, and Chris Fowler said, that you have to remove your earpieces because it gets amplified in all the microphones, and then it's just blasting your eardrum. And they say when Pat McAfee does it as well, that you have to do it because when
Right.
he's standing near some sort of cannon, it just gets amplified. I will always remember one of my very first college game day. It was SMU at Houston, and Case Keenum was still there, and Houston was like almost undefeated or whatever. So it was college game day paying homage to the smaller schools back in the day. And he
Yeah.
said the F word live on television.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Do you remember
Yeah.
that? You remember that?
Yeah, that one. That's like when he called the little kid a midget.
Yeah.
There was that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are all starting to get towards like the latter end of everything for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Really kind of like everyone kind of saw this coming, especially over the last 4 years. Like,
Well, and I think it's like a, I don't really know what the word I'm trying to use, but it's a good thing because you're like, okay, he's finally retiring. He's getting the send off that he deserves. But in the same sense, it's like, it's about time. Like,
oh, right.
4 years ago, you would have been perfect because you went from being on the first show to being on maybe week 8, week 9, and then you were back for the playoffs. And it's like, okay, you're just part time now. And every time you got on the stage, we weren't sure if you were going to stroke out on stage
Or fall.
or fall. Like
Or
it
fall.
was not like Kirk had to help him so many times that it was like, okay, this is becoming an issue.
I do think there is something poetic because he put on Brutus the Buckeye head, first time ever, right? Mascot head. And then it's gone through this trilogy, not trilogy, but this whole long thing. But now week 1 is probably going to be in Columbus for Ohio State, Texas, right? A top 5
Right.
matchup. Why wouldn't you be there? And he could probably pick Brutus, and bookend kind of the Lee Corso tradition college game day sort of deal. So I just think that that's really poetic. I like when things happen like that. So yeah, Corso, you've kind of meant a lot to the sport. Corso has always said, according to Reese Davis, that they are here for entertainment and college football is the thing that drives them. And I've been getting into WWE just a little bit more, as you know, and I just think that it's
Let's go.
I love it when people recognize what they are there to do, and they are there for entertainment. And Lee Corso was one of those people, so I really do respect that he was self-aware enough to know that their opinions really didn't matter on the game. They were there to entertain people and move the show forward.
Just wait. I'm gonna get you to one of those shows.
You're gonna get me on one of those shows?
Heck yeah, brother.
Are we gonna play, or are we just gonna? There we go. Okay, speaking of, why don't we just roll right into that? WWE WrestleMania. I didn't see Sunday's main event. I saw Saturday's main event. Carrie was making fun of me. Wildly entertaining. I have seen 2 wrestle matches from start to finish. I saw last year Cody Rhodes versus Roman. What's it? Roman.
Yep, that's where that picture is from.
Okay, all right. And then I saw this year the match start to finish, which was the triple threat. I think that's what you call it.
Yeah.
The triple threat this year. Wildly entertaining, wildly athletic, wildly makes my body hurt watching some of the stunts they do. I see why people like it. And probably if I was younger, I would be all over this. But right now, I don't have the time to watch a 3-hour Raw and a 2-hour SmackDown every Friday and every Monday, right? So that's where I'm going to come to you for this, and we're going to have a little wrestling segment. I think we're just going to sprinkle this into a podcast, give you 2 minutes. So WrestleMania's over. John Cena beat Cody Rhodes. He is the WWE champion, correct?
Correct.
All right. So he has ruined wrestling, or so he said. What did he do the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania when he said he was going to ruin wrestling?
He just came out and he did his, he kind of talked to the crowd, but essentially what he's doing is going to like retire the belt that they're using.
Which is that over your other shoulder?
One?
Is that the belt?
No, that's just an older one.
Okay.
But so that the next person like that beats him or however they make their next champion is going to be like their first new champion, because it'll be like a new belt, a new story, a new line, and kind of whoever it is. But yeah, kind of the way with Lee Corso, like John Cena is the same way, where him winning the championship breaks the record for the most championships in WWE at 17.
Is that why they're calling him the GOAT?
Right.
Okay. All right.
And that's one of the things where it's like a big discussion, it's like who's the GOAT, but it's like Stone Cold Steve Austin's always going to be like my GOAT because that's who I grew up watching. But it turns into one of those who you watch is LeBron, Jordan, and
what? So is that the debate right now? Is that like the LeBron Jordan debate? Is it Austin and Cena? Is that kind of the debate going on?
I mean, yes and no, because it's a hard way to look at the times, because Cena has obviously the record for most world championships, but Cena kind of came after the Attitude Era, so it started like the Ruthless Aggression era, and he was kind of the big dog for that for so long, and then was gone for a couple years, and then came back, but with him finally retiring this year, it's kind of like the changing of the guard, if you have,
What do you kind of expect? Do you expect any other big storylines to come out of this? Like, I saw Randy Orton did an RKO. Is that going to become anything, or is Randy Orton just kind of messing around?
Well, it's kind of a callback from like way back, like early 2000s, when him and Cena were obviously both younger.
Okay,
but that is like a throwback rivalry that kind of didn't happen and did happen at the same time, and everyone like would love for that to come back.
Okay.
Because Randy Orton's nickname has always been the Legend Killer.
Yeah.
So now Cena is the Legend. So, but it might be like a 1 pay-per-view, 2 pay-per-view kind of thing.
Okay. All right. Well then, you know what? I got my WWE fill for the week, and we're just gonna kind of move along. I expect weekly updates every time we enter the pod.
Yeah, well, I'll give them to you, dog.
All right. Yeah, you will. Come on. All right, come on. There we go. I don't know why it's being so difficult. All right. So Corso's retiring. Robert, in the group chat, you seemed all about the Rose Bowl moving the kickoff up to 4 p.m. Eastern from 5 p.m. Eastern, so it's an hour earlier. However, I've never seen someone so passionate about a kickoff being moved 1 hour. You want to tell the audience just what you think about that?
I'm okay with it, because
I am too.
The only stuff I ever see about them moving it up was, oh, but the sunset. I've never been to a football game or watched a football game where I just stopped and said, no, that's one good sunset. Am I right? But like, for whatever reason, like, we're taking a football game and we're looking and caring about everything else around the football game except the football game. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's not a big deal. I mean, for the Rose Bowl, it kind of is, for like the parade and stuff like that, because I probably adjust their schedule. They have to do their parade earlier and everything, but I don't know. It's not that big of a deal.
From what I understand, the parade's actually a big deal.
Like, yeah, the parade I think is a bigger deal than what the game actually is.
Yeah. Like it leads to the people throwing the parade. So we're not throwing shade on the parade. You parade enthusiasts, flower enthusiasts, you stay in your corner. We're not trying to rain on your parade, literally. Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. I was always of the mindset, I was always of the mindset of, I don't like places that, and I'm going to steal a line from Mike Golick Jr., that places that are pretentious, that seem like they smell their own farts, that are run by people that seem like them and Augusta, like the Masters, the Augusta National.
Yeah.
Can't stand it. Okay, I understand what you're trying to do, but how people aren't allowed to take their phones, and again, I think people are too phone addicted, so I'm okay with that. But the strict dress code and golf as a
commentator rules,
yeah,
and
golf in a whole, just like I'm not a big fan. Like the Waste Management Open in Arizona, how fans are allowed to scream the whole time and they throw like that. See, now you could get me on board with some of that. But yes, places like the Rose Bowl where they have rules and it's all about tradition and it has to be about tradition. I'm not a fan of in general.
And they even said that the Rose Bowl historically has been running past their allotted time, which is causing the next game, the late game, to start later and then finish later. So it's like the Rose Bowl is like its own worst enemy. So moving it up an hour is kind of their fix for it. And that's why I said in the group chat, I was like, listen, you got two options. Move it up an hour, or you're not on January 1st, you're on December 31st, or something else. Like you're not as important as what you think anymore. You're just a playoff game.
We are going to have probably a first time ever thing that we're going to do.
Is that good or bad?
Well, I don't know. It's going to be entertaining though. I think people are going to really like it. Well, at least our listeners will. So my uncle, Fighting Kevin Kearns, I did ask him if he deleted the comment. He said no. And I said, I need this information again because it is fascinating. He does correct us, or enlighten us to additional information. He's going to join us live here in a minute. And I love that. I've never done. Simeon's going to be so jealous when he listens to this podcast, and that's what makes Robert happy right now. So we're just going to keep on rolling here. Let's do, while we're waiting for him, judge delays house settlement over roster limits. So $2.8 billion. Is that what it is? Is it 2.8, 2.3? So, yeah. Okay. $2.8 billion settlement, NCAA to the athletes, right? As part of that settlement, they are going to roster limits. Instead of scholarship limits, they are going a roster limit of 105 for FBS. I'm going to take a minute and applaud the judge. Her reasoning being is that the average size FBS program has 128 kids on it. So if you immediately go to a roster size of 105, you are getting rid, if everyone can do math, of 23 kids per school that now don't have a team, that now can't play football, any of that sort of stuff. So, I think it is, again, I will applaud the judge because she's finally doing the right thing for the kid, right? Am I wrong here? She's doing the right thing for the kids that are not at the top of the roster. Am I wrong? First of all, let's start there.
I don't think you're wrong. I guess it kind of brings up the next argument. So what, it's 23 kids per team at 130 some kids or teams, right? 132, 134.
Right. Yep.
So that's a lot of kids who essentially aren't on a team. So what is the plan with those kids? Like, is it kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like now you just have all these kids who aren't playing. Who, I guess, does it limit the amount of possibility of playing for some kids? But then again, if you're getting cut from one of the programs, chances are you're probably not meant to be at that level then.
Right.
So does that create more opportunity for like Division II, Division III schools to grab kids?
Or JUCOs. Now, again, JUCO years don't count anymore. Diego Pavia rule.
Yeah.
So JUCO years don't count anymore. I applaud the judge. However, I don't applaud the judge because I'm selfish, and I just need this to be over. I just need this to be over and us to have a semblance of some sort of rules and go from there. But the judge says the lawyers need to go back and figure out the roster limits before she's going to approve it. She approves everything else in it. None of it's active, though. She approves everything else in it except for roster limits. She needs the roster limits to be fixed to take care of the kids on the back end. And Robert, to your point, I don't know how they're going to do that.
It's just weird. Like I get why because 126 kids is absurd. Like you can only play 11 at a time. So I guess they just got to figure out that aspect, or it's kind of like a feast or famine kind of deal. But a salary cap of 20 and a half, I mean, that's kind of nice too.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, break that down how many kids do you think all 105 are going to get?
It's probably
going to get paid.
I think each kid has to.
Is it just you think all 105 do?
Maybe, I don't know.
Well, and then there's the issue of Title IX. Because some colleges have already said that they're going to sue if the football player, we covered this last week in the podcast, if the football program gets 90% of that, and the women's basketball team, for example.
Yeah.
Right?
An effective salary cap that is expected to start. I don't know. I mean, 20 and a half per school and increase annually during the 10-year lifespan of the deal. So, unless
you keep talking.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Even how, the rule will go away if the settlement is approved, meaning a school can provide a full scholarship to every one of its athletes if it chooses to do so. So every kid can get a scholarship if they want. So then you're just going to give out 105 potential scholarships. I mean, that'll crush colleges.
With that many scholarships? Well, unless
105?
Yeah. I mean, there's no way. There's no way. I have to believe that the colleges are going to stay around 85 scholarships, and then the last 20 are like walk-ons. Because right now there's a scholarship limit of 85.
So then I wonder if that's kind of how they'll do it. Is they'll say you have a roster limit of 105, but you do 85 scholarship kids. Your scholarship kids are the ones that the money's broken up between, because obviously you're going to try and keep your scholarship kids over a walk-on.
Right. It's not an easy situation to figure out, but also there has to be a better situation than what we are in right now. Ooh, here we go. Simeon's about to be so jealous, everybody. Here we go. There he be. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, the fighting Kevin Kern, as it is, my uncle, Dr. Kevin Kern. Welcome to the podcast. Long-time listener, first-time guest. How you doing?
Yes, that's what I was just about to say. Long time, first time. It's great to see you guys.
So, Uncle Kevin, this is my friend Robert. Robert, this is my uncle Kevin.
Nice to meet you.
So he's a big time Michigan fan here. So we're all in the same boat here. I want to get into. We were just talking about the judge delaying the House settlement over the roster limits. I don't know if you heard this. Okay, so the judge is delaying the $2.8 billion settlement because the judge doesn't want the average size of FBS teams, which are 125, to drop to 105, right? Because then those kids don't have anywhere to go that they have to remove from the program. So the judge, she wants them to, the lawyers, to figure it out. And I just want to start here because you had some comments based on our pod last week, and I want you to air them because YouTube so kindly took your comment down for the inappropriate language that it was, or something like that.
I don't know what I did, honestly.
I don't know what you did either, but I want everyone to hear those comments because you did correct us on some things, and I'm all about being factual. So I give you the floor. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it was great. I really, really enjoyed you guys bringing attention to this issue. One of the things you said was that, where are the faculty? Why aren't the faculty saying anything? Well, I can say from personal experience, the faculty have a lot to say, but nobody seems to be interested in listening to what they have to say. We keep trying to talk to the administration to tell them about, the misallocation of resources regarding athletics and stuff like that. Nobody really cares because the only people really calling the shots at most universities are the boards of trustees and the alumni. Those are the ones who really seem to have the ears of the board of trustees because they are the major donors too. The thing is, for the vast majority of NCAA teams, they lose money on athletics. There was a study in 2019. This is probably what got me booted from your comment thing. I tried to put a link to this study from 2019. They did a study of 1,100 NCAA programs. 25 were actually revenue positive. Only 25.
Is that only the football program or the entire athletic department?
The entire athletics program.
Okay.
Right? So this was, all of NCAA, FBS, FCS, 2, 3, all together, only 25 teams. They were all in FBS, all the top, among the top 25 teams. Only they actually made money on athletics. Now, I'm sure there were some that were, about 50-50 or whatever, but the vast majority, all FCS, all Division II, all Division III schools lose money on athletics. And so, I am at the University of Akron, as you know. The University of Akron routinely loses about $20 million a year on athletics, the vast majority of which is football, Division I football. And the University of Akron has lost $250 million with a B, $billion just on football over the last 13, 14 years or so. That is even at a time when they have been they've been laying off faculty because they say they can't make their budgets. And the faculty have been trying to say, well, you're losing $20 million a year in a non-revenue generating endeavor, and the faculty actually generate revenue. It doesn't seem to move the needle any for them.
Why? So if football loses at the University of Akron, if football loses that much money year over year over year, why do they keep trying to keep the football program around? Because also, Akron isn't that good at football. Let's just put that as it is, right? Like they've been on the cheapest ticket segment quite a few times. So what do you think that reasoning is?
I'm scratching my head, and I have a lot of head to scratch, as you can see. We just cannot wrap our minds around why they continue to keep backing this. And it all comes down to, again, the board of trustees and probably very influential alumni. They figure it's not a real university, it's not a major university unless it has a Division I FBS team, and they are loath to give that up. Now, it's not like Akron doesn't do well in other athletic endeavors. Akron actually won the NCAA tournament in soccer a few years ago. The basketball team has made the NCAA tournament multiple times. It's not that they don't do well in other kinds of athletics, but as far as football goes, Akron is dead last in attendance. Dead last.
Yeah. Yeah.
They make nothing in terms of gate revenue, and yet
I don't want you to be remiss, but you did forget to mention the Final Four appearance from the dodgeball team.
Oh,
the Akron dodgeball team did make the Final Four this
I was
year.
unaware of that, and we apparently have an amazing esports team. Apparently, the Akron esports team has won Rocket League, multiple national championships in Rocket League and esports. So I guess we've got that going for us.
So I'm just gonna put this out there. You're one of the smartest human beings I know. You're one of the most well-educated human beings, if that makes you feel better, that I know. So I want to get your opinion on this. How would you fix it to where we don't have kids making millions of dollars, which annoys Robert, the transfer portal and just open market to everyone, which annoys me, and football teams losing money, pushing faculty out, which annoys you? What would be a solution you would give, or where would you start?
That's an excellent question. I'm thinking that's probably above my pay grade here at the University of Akron. I think one of the main issues is deprioritizing athletics when it comes into conflict with academics. For me, that's where I'm coming from. Now, Mount Union, they probably lose money on athletics, but they have a really good Division III football team. It is a draw for students to come there. It actually makes sense. It's a loss leader for a lot of these colleges to have these athletic teams that make people want to come to that university, whether it's, Villanova for basketball, or, there are some people who follow baseball, especially in the SEC and Big 12. It makes sense if you can make the calculus, the monetary argument that to have this team will bring in paying students who will pay tuition, who will come to your university in order to have access to going to a football game. Clearly, that's not happening at the University of Akron. I think the average attendance last year was, 6,000? 6,000? It was dead last. They're not coming to University of Akron for the football team. Now, some of them may be coming for the basketball team. Some of them may be coming for soccer. The soccer team is really good. But I think there is just this blind belief that you must have a Division 1A or FBS football team in order to be a real college. You would need to educate the boards of trustees in these various institutions to make them understand that, and they just don't seem to want to understand that, at least in my experience.
Yeah, now again, this doesn't go for every school, but let's take a bigger level FBS school. So let's take the Michigans, the Ohio States, the Georgias, Alabamas, right? Let's think about them in context here. Could a solution to my frustration of open transfer and Robert, these kids making millions of dollars, and yours of we need kids who are going to come to the school to pay, to be that if your NIL is above blank, you don't get a scholarship and you have to physically pay the university to come play football here?
Yeah, I mean, not all athletes are going to get that kind of NIL, right?
Correct.
I mean, there are some athletes who may only get an NIL of, I don't know, $20,000 or something like that, which, as someone who sent one of my offspring to University of Michigan, 20
Drop in the bucket.
20K does not cut it.
Drop in the bucket.
Yeah. So, I do think for that, those 25 teams who actually end up generating revenue, which can be spread throughout the rest of the university, you can make, and the accountants can total things up, says, yep, this is a money-making venture, even with NIL, and we are subsidizing not just the rest of athletics, but arguably subsidizing the rest of the university. I think that is, you could certainly make the argument that even with NIL, they're still revenue positive and acting as a lifting institution within the university to pull things up. But that is just, I mean, 1,100 schools in division, in NCAA all division. That means, as I think I said in the thing was taken down, it works out to like 2.3% of all universities. And it's kind of a vanishingly small. It's very high profile. So yeah, I mean, for me, again, I'm 206 years old, so I have this old-fashioned way of thinking that giving a person a free freaking college education is a gift. That is a really, really good thing, especially if you can get a free ride at a Michigan or Ohio State or a major institution that's going to give you a degree that's worth something. I've always thought that ought to be considered part of this equation. That those people who are going to the University of Michigan are getting a education that anybody else would have to shell out $60,000, $70,000, $75,000 a year for.
This has just been wildly fascinating, and we have to do this more often. We have to bring you on as kind of the season and the off season goes, because this is amazing. I don't even care if people don't watch because you were born or whatnot. I think it's amazingly fascinating.
My students feel the same way. So, but if you do want to talk about football in the late 1800s, man, I'm your man. I'm writing a book on that right now. So.
You got it all. I would be remiss if I don't ask you a few college football questions, and then I'm going to let you go. So I'm going to ask you two. First, any comments on Lee Corso retiring?
I love Lee Corso, but it's definitely past time, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
And two, what do you love about college football? What is your draw to college football?
And I'll tell you, this is a great question. And this is one of the reasons why I love your podcast. I love the focus on college football. I grew up in Findlay, Ohio, town about that big.
Yep.
My father taught at Findlay College. He took me from the time I was literally a baby, I'm told, to college football games, Findlay College, playing, the big schools of, Bluffton and Anderson and Manchester and Indiana, the Hoosier Buckeye League. That was my exposure to football. And for me, growing up, again, many, many years ago, other people had these heroes who were, the Terry Bradshaws and the Franco Harrises and people like that. My heroes were Steve Trout, the quarterback for the Findlay College Oiler football team. It was my team. And I lived and died by what that team did. And when that team won the NAIA National Championship, that was a big freaking deal for a little, pre-tween kid like me. My team won the NAIA Division II National Championship and went to the playoffs. And every single player on that field was playing because they loved the game. They weren't playing for really even scholarship money. NAIA 2 didn't have scholarship money. They were playing because they loved the game. And everybody they were playing was also playing because they loved the game. And there are few other sports that have such great viewership and great attention where you can look at Mount Union playing Worcester or something like that and know that every single kid on that field is playing because they're playing for the love of the game, because they want to be part of this thing beyond, it's not NAIL, it's not anything else. They're just, and that to me has always been kind of magical about college football, and that's one of the reasons why I may not watch a lot of football games in the season, but I'll make a point of watching the NCAA Division III tournament or some of these other things because of that sense of community that it engenders.
I love it. You were fantastic today. We will definitely have you back on.
Not bad for my first time, right?
You were great for your first time. You can totally tell you're comfortable speaking in front of people. Thank you so much for being here. When you leave the window up because it probably has to finish uploading. So just get the upload complete message, and then you're good to close your window. I will do it. I will connect with you later to set up future appointments, not as we're actively recording the podcast.
Okay.
But you were fantastic.
I can go back to supper then, right?
And you can go back to supper. Thank you so much for being here. Dr. Kevin Kern, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thanks.
Yep. Bye-bye. Okay. All righty. So, Rob, let's get into Colorado's spring game here. I did watch it, and it was, I don't know, fascinating.
Go ahead and say it.
I don't know if fascinating was the right word, but it was awesome to watch. Okay, it was awesome to watch spring football. I just want to get into their schedule a little bit. You told me privately, their defense is going to be much better. I don't know about. I think their defensive line is. I don't know about their secondary though.
Yeah, definitely. The D line looked good, back and forth.
Yeah,
they looked good, But the secondary was the secondary.
Right.
That might just be a problem they have all season. But I thought they played pretty good, defensively on the line.
All right, let's get into their schedule a little bit, and let's just kind of give an overview. I think that their quarterback play is definitely going to take a hit, and I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing if they take a step back. They went 9-3 with the Heisman Trophy winner and then the most accurate quarterback in the FBS last year. Not a bad thing. It's fine if you, instead of 9-3, if you're 7-5, 8-4 with this squad. But you also need to run the football a little bit, and Dion wants to do that. So we're going to have to kind of figure that out.
Sorry, I had blood results come back. So.
Oh, that's right. Everything good? Everything good?
I mean, as good as it's going to be.
Okay.
Me.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So let's get into their schedule, and then let's get out of here because I just can't get it over that my uncle tuned in. So that was awesome. All right. Let's get into their schedule. Go for it.
So first off, actually a very surprisingly tough matchup. They play Georgia Tech.
Okay.
And I think they're home. Yeah, they're home against Georgia Tech. Second week, get a nice little bye week. Pretty much it's Delaware, which this would be their first year in the FBS.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, now they're playing with the big guys and that, their games actually matter up here. Then they have to travel to Houston.
Okay.
Home against Wyoming. Home against BYU. On the road to TCU. Home against Iowa State. On the road against Utah, home against Arizona, at West Virginia, home against Arizona State. This is rough. And then at Kansas State. A lot of home and away back and forth. So a lot of travel.
And that opening week, Georgia Tech, is that on the road, neutral site? Where's
No,
that
it's
at?
home. Folsom.
And Georgia Tech, they're a feisty team. They took Georgia to what, 9 overtime, something like that, right,
Yeah.
last year. So
Beat
again,
Florida State in Ireland.
yeah. So
Opening game, field goal.
But you're right. I think the back and forth and back, home away, all that travel, that's gonna take a toll. So let's just, as of right now, spring ball ranking. Where do you think they finish, like record wise?
Hold on, there's one. I mean, I got to count how many games because do we have 2 bye weeks this year?
Yes.
So 12 games.
Yeah.
I would say probably 8-4.
Okay.
8-4. I feel pretty confident at that point. A very, we don't really know how Arizona is going to be since they lost quarterback and receiver, I believe.
Yeah, they lost them both. Yeah.
Arizona State's lost Scadaboo, which was their only player, and I don't
who?
think that receiver came back. You don't know what Kansas State is going to be because they usually start off pretty good and then they fall apart. TCU hasn't been good
Since their national championship.
Yeah, I mean BYU is going to be that defining game, I think, because it'll probably end up. If I have to imagine, the Big 12 is going to almost be exactly as it was last year, where we're coming to the final week of the season and there's 6 teams that are still in play, and it's going to come. It'll be like, well, Colorado lost to BYU, but BYU lost to Iowa State in November, who lost to West Virginia. But yeah, 8-4, I could see 9-3. If they can beat BYU at home, if they, dump West Virginia on the road.
West Virginia, Rich Rodriguez, that offense should be really fun to watch this year. All right. So who do you think they lose to? And then we'll get out of here.
I'm going to go BYU. I'm going to say, I'm going to go at Utah. I think they'll drop that one because isn't Cam Rising in his 16th year? Is he still there?
I think Utah said Cam Rising, you're leaving.
Okay.
I'll check that.
Okay. Either way, at Utah, Utah's playing a tough one to do, and I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say they're going to lose at West Virginia.
Okay. All right.
Just because it's you're at Utah, home, at West Virginia, home, at Kansas State. A lot of traveling within those last 5 weeks.
They only get Kansas State, not Kansas.
Only Kansas State.
Okay. All right.
I'm not making that mistake of saying Kansas is going to be my Big 12 champs, though.
Utah, Cam Rising is no longer with Utah.
Oh, okay, good.
I did clear that up. I'm gonna look up one thing. Colorado per game in 2024. All right, I'm looking up one thing, and then I'm gonna ask you one question. Okay, in 2024, Colorado, the Buffaloes averaged 65.2 yards rushing, which ranked them 272 nationally in rushing. Do they average more or less than that this year?
I'm going to say they're going to average more. Not much more, but I think they're going to average more. Mainly because the rushing stats really took a hit because Shador wouldn't throw the ball away. And now that he's gone, Slater and the freshman,
Lewis.
I can't remember his name.
Lewis.
Yes, Juju Lewis.
Yeah.
Those two, I think Deion's going to drill it into their heads like, if it's not there, throw it away. Or somebody in that team has to. Because he would what game was it? He had like minus 56 rushing yards because he kept getting sacked.
Was that the Nebraska game? He got sacked like 9 times at Nebraska or something like that.
And the team alone had 26 rushing yards because Shador had minus 56.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think without Shador being there, their rushing should look better, at least statistically.
All right, everybody. This was a fascinating episode. We will see you later. Wash those hands, you filthy animals. We'll be back sometime. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time. Peace out.